Hello everyone, it's Samuela here. So I first wanted to start this video and say I have not watched the Bridgerton books. I do not know if I ever will watch the Bridgerton books, and I've only watched the Bridgerton series. So admittedly, my knowledge of the books is a little bit limited, but I do know some stuff. And I also literally have a notebook of all I'm gonna say because I just was thinking about this like an hour ago as I was ranting to myself, and I was like, I need to make a video on this. I don't care if nobody watches it, just for my own sake. I need to do this. Okay, so season 3 of Bridgerton recently came out, and so we all know that season 4 is going to be Benedict. It was hinted at the end of season 3 with Eloise and Benedict that with a whole masquerade ball, and I know that Benedict and his love interest, Sophie's love story, is kind of like a Cinderella retelling, so I can tell that like the masquerade ball is going to be like where they meet. And so obviously season 4 is going to have a lot of Benedict's story, and obviously he's going to have with the addedness of his sexuality being explored, and Benedict doesn't really know what he's doing in life. He's kind of just trying to find anything to keep him free. I don't think that his bisexuality is a phase, but I just feel like he's using his bisexuality as an excuse to never really feel like he has to grow up and to assume the responsibilities that he's expected to do, not only as just like a man in the ton, but also just the addedness of being a Bridgerton, because the Bridgerton is not just any ton family. It's a very high standing family already, but especially now with like Daphne marrying the Duke and stuff like that really elevated the family even more. And I feel like him using his bisexuality is just another thing to be like, oh, well, this is so fun and so new and so free, so obviously I can't be tied down right now because this is a part of myself that I have never explored yet. And if I get married right now, I'm not going to be able to explore that because it's going to be hard to find someone who is like, you know, wants to have like threesomes all the time. You'll start to see a lot of that, but definitely in the end of season 4, you'll see him like being like, I am bisexual, like, and this is not something that's ever going to go away. However, and me being with a woman doesn't make me any less bisexual, but he falls so in love that he finally has someone that he wants to commit to. A lot of people were being like, oh, is his love interest also going to be gender bent too because of like the whole Francesca Michaela thing? I don't think so. I feel like Michaela is going to be the only gender bent character for the Bridgertons. I definitely feel like Sophie's not going to be, I don't know, the male equivalent, but Sophie's going to be Sophie. And I definitely feel like the first episode is going to have like the masquerade ball. And that's when Eloise, Francesca, and John, maybe even Michaela, will come back to the ton from where they were at. And then it's going to be kind of like, especially for like maybe like Eloise, might be like a culture shock of like being back in the ton. This season is where we're really going to see a lot of development between Francesca and John. I feel like it was actually a very, very smart, season 3 was a little bit of a jumble, but it was a very smart decision to introduce John and Francesca's stories in season 3 before their season, because I feel like there's so much to their story, because it was like kind of two love stories. It was Francesca and John's, and then it was Francesca and Michael's, now Michaela. So it was like having jam-packing two love stories that are both true and are both loving in one season, especially when there's only 8 episodes, would have been too much. And so I really like how they introduced John and Francesca in season 3, and I think season 4 is where you're really going to start to see a lot of development between John and Francesca, because Francesca does ultimately end up with someone else in the end of her book, but it's because John dies. She is well and truly in love with John, and so I feel like you're really going to start seeing that in season 4. Again, it's like, it's going to have Francesca is going to be happy with John, but the biggest pull in the relationship is going to be her fertility issues, because they're going to keep trying to have a baby, but it's just like not happening. And it's like there's so much pressure, because even though she's like not in the ton, it's still like very much in society that a woman is to produce heirs. Like, what are you if you don't produce any heirs? And Eloise will be with them, so when pre-season 4, and so she'll really be able to see all the struggles. And I feel like Eloise and Francesca are gonna get really close. We're gonna see them being like almost thick as thieves, because like Eloise is gonna be like that place from home that she has even with her new life, and how everything is so rocky. Like obviously she loves John, but like again, like she's married, she wasn't before, and then also having her fertility issues, that's also so new. That's never something that she had to deal with. Having Eloise there is going to be like her anchor, and I feel like we're really going to see them get close. And then also this season we're really going to see the change in Eloise, because before Eloise had so many things she wanted to do, so many things she wanted to change, but she couldn't do it because she was stuck in the ton. She couldn't leave. She's not like Colin. She couldn't just go on like some like world tour to find herself. Like that's not what women did. And so by her being away from the ton and being with Francesca, we're really going, when she comes back to the masquerade ball, we're really going to see her growth as a character. And we're going to see that she has experienced so much life outside of the ton, and she's going to learn so much more about society and how society works even outside of the ton, because I feel like the ton is really like a bubble, but then like everywhere else, even if she's probably in like a richer area, because how they said it was like a palace, the Kilmartin like palace, but it's still like the outskirts of like things she's really gonna see, and maybe even some classified, to be more further explored in her season. And I obviously, again, like this whole season is going to be primarily like Benedict and his story, but you definitely see like Francesca and John's story. And I feel like at the last episode is when Francesca should be like, oh, like she finds out that she's pregnant, because in the book Francesca did get pregnant. And so like, oh, she's pregnant, and everyone's so overjoyed because it's like, oh my god, yes, finally, like all of her struggles, like she has been trying to be with child for so long and it was just like not working, and now she's finally like with child, and it's like, oh my god, it's just a breath of fresh air. And I feel like Francesca and Michaela are gonna be friendly. They might have this like weird little like tension thing as we saw at the end of season 3. However, Francesca is in love with John, right? The only reason why she's not with John till the end is because John died. And I feel like having like a weird sordid love affair while he's still alive is not really true to her story, especially hearing stuff from like other people who read the book. That's why a lot of people were upset with the whole Michaela switch because of like homophobia and stuff. But also a lot of people are like, what was that look at the end? Like, Francesca is in love with John. Like, Francesca ends up with Michael, or I guess now Michaela, but she was well and truly in love with John. Like, are they gonna do like a cheating angle? And I feel like it's gonna have something there, like a weird tension, but it's not gonna amount to anything. Like, Michaela's gonna just be like a slight presence. It's not gonna be like that big of a deal. So yeah, season 4 is gonna end with Benedict in love with his Sophie. He's finally feeling comfortable in himself, not feeling like he has to go out and do all the things, like he has to go out and explore so many things. Like, he can like settle down, and he's in love and he's trying to settle down. Eloise, she's really like, especially coming back to the ton with her new lens, she realizes that maybe she doesn't want to come back. Like, she really starts truly being able to chip at like all the hypocrisies, all the things in the ton. And then at the end, with the whole like business, I feel like Francesca, John, Eloise, and maybe even Michaela, if she comes, are gonna not just leave after the masquerade. I feel like they're probably gonna like stay and linger a little bit and be like, you know what, just visit. And then when they find out that Francesca is pregnant, I feel like they're all gonna go back. I feel like even Eloise is gonna go back, because she's like, everything she knows, she doesn't want to be in the ton right now. And so that leads to season 5, which, hear me out, season 5 I want to be Francesca's story. And I feel like there's an order in which I'm doing to these seasons because of where I want Eloise season and which I want Eloise to do, because I am a huge Eloise girl. Now, season 5, Francesca's season. Bam! Episode 1, it's at maybe the midpoint, John dies. Bam, off the bat. Halfway through the first episode, John dies. Because there's only 8 episodes, so the pacing, you can't like drag it out. I feel like John should be alive all throughout season 4, and he should die like kind of like, I don't know how he dies. I don't know if he dies from illness or it's unsuspected or it's an accident. I didn't read the book, but John dies midway through episode 1. And then you really see like the heartbreak, the genuine heartbreak of Francesca, because like she's in love with John, like, and then she's like, oh my god, how am I gonna raise this baby without him? Like, and she's like, oh, at least I have this like one part of him left. But then like the last scene of episode 1, you see her miscarrying. She's miscarrying, and that's how the episode ends. And it's like, oh my god, what is happening? What do you mean? Like, oh my god, that's so gut-wrenching. Such a gut-wrenching end to the episode. But because also the thing is, in the books, Francesca and John are genuinely in love. So there's like a time skip. So I don't know how much the time skip is. I've not read the book, but it can't be too much because it's still like, oh, like fertility years, whatever. And so I'm just gonna say like a cute 5-year gap. That the beginning of episode 2 starts with like a 5-year gap. Again, like Eloise had gone back to live with the Kilmartins. And I don't know if Michaela lives there or not. Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. But after 5 years, Francesca is like, you know what? She wants a child. That's something that like she wants for herself because of all of her fertility issues and also with society is like she wants to go out and get a child. And so she wants to go back to the town. And so Eloise and Michaela decide to go with her. Also, depending on who Francesca marries, like she might end up staying in the town anyway. This is where Michaela and Francesca like truly bond. Like before, again, it was kind of like there was like a weird tension and they were like kind of pseudo friends, but it was like it's more so like just like now we're just like family rather than like, oh, like I would go off and like hang out with like just you because we're that close of friends. But now it's like they really bond because so many people were like, oh my god, how can it be with Michaela? Because it was the real reason why I really connected with the story was fertility issues. One, Francesca, we talk about it in a very real way about her fertility issues in season 4, and then also in the beginning of season 5 you can even talk about how like Michaela was like could really open up to Francesca about fertility issues that she has herself. She can be like, I don't know, she could be like, when I was 16 the doctors told me that I would never be able to have kids, and if you're a woman, if you can't have kids, your life is like over. They tried so many things, but it's like it was clear that she would never be able to have kids. And so it's like her status, her worth was just thrown down the drain, and it really like hit her because that means if she was unable to have kids, that means she would never be able to marry. And she could talk about how that really hit her and that really like hit her hard, but how like over the years she's been able to build herself back up, and through that she's been able to realize that like, you know what, my worth does not revolve around the fact of whether I can have a child or not. My worth does not revolve around the fact of whether I have a man or not, whether I have a husband or not. Like, I am Michaela Sterling, that's who I am, and there's nothing that's gonna change that. And that could really resonate with Francesca, because another one of Francesca's story, especially with her fertility issues, can be about like her grappling with the fact that she might not be able to have kids. She might not be able to get pregnant again, or maybe she might be able to get pregnant but she might not ever be able to carry a baby to term, or if she does carry a baby, who knows, stillborn, never know. And so she could be grappling with the fact that society always tells women that they mean nothing if they can't produce an heir. They have like all they're good for is just baby factories. And seeing Michaela, this strong, this independent, this intelligent, this loving woman that also has infertility issues, and how she's still thriving and how it has worth, she still has meaning. Francesca might be like, she might be questioning why she wants kids so badly, and that maybe it's not the reason why she's feels like she needs to have kids is not because, oh, it's something that she can't live without, but it's something that society has told her that she needs, that there's no meaning if she doesn't have kids. And I feel like Michaela can help her through that. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, a big part of Michaela and Francesca's stories was that Michael and Francesca's story in the book is that Michael would always tell Francesca about his sordid sex affairs, exploitations, and it might be like, oh, well, Michaela's a woman, how she's gonna do that? Part of her fertility issues is how she's never going to be able to get married with a man. She's never going to have any value to men. And so she might have, one of how she healed is that she found out that either she's just not attracted to men at all, maybe she's lesbian, or maybe that she herself is just, I don't know, like bisexual or whatever, just attracted to women. And she can be talking about her sexploitations with women. Society gatekeeps sex from women. Eloise, clearly the smartest of all the Bridgertons, guys or girls, it cannot be riddled with. You cannot fight me on that. It's true. Clearly the most well-read. She reads so much. And still in season 1, she had asked her mom, how does one come to be with child if they're not married? I thought that was a part of the process, because all they were told is that you have a baby when you're married. They don't know how sex works. They gatekeep sex from women, unless the women, other than maybe sex workers, but like noble women, they gatekeep sex. And literally even Daphne in season 1, she had no idea what like masturbation was at all until Simon told her about it. And then even then she had no idea how sex worked until her little wedding day. Her mom sat her down and was trying to have her like a weird awkward conversation about like how sex works. And I don't remember if it's like it actually like went into detail or I was like, ew, mom, stop. But like literally it was like an awkward thing. It's like, oh, it's like she's finally getting married, I should probably prepare her for what she's like. Yeah. In season 3, that I forget the name of Felicity, I think, kind of like the dim-witted one. Is that what her name? Felicity Featherington. She was happily married to her husband, yet she had never had sex with him. She thought that she was having sex with him because they were like making out, and then he would like rub himself on her and he would get off and she'd be like, oh yeah. That's what they never had sex until the mom literally had to sit down and explain to her exactly what sex entailed, because she thought that because she did not know. They did not know. And so obviously Francesca knows what heterosexual sex is. She was married, but because of Michaela talking about all of her exploitations with women and all gossiping, a whole new world opens up to her. And it could be up until this point, Francesca was really getting on herself and being like, she knows like she kind of feels something for Michaela, but it's like, that's not possible. Like you can't. She's like, oh, it's just friendship. Girls don't get with other girls. Guys don't get with other guys. Like that's not a thing that happens. Not even in a religious, only should be, like anything else is wrong. Only, it's not even just that. It's like she just genuinely like, that doesn't happen. Like she's never seen anyone who's done that. She's never heard of anyone who's done that. That doesn't happen. But hearing Michaela's sexploitations with women, she's like, huh? It's like a whole new avenue has been explored to her. And then at the end of season 5, that's when you really, like the end of season 5, like last 2, maybe even like last episode, that's where you really start to see her realize like maybe her desire to have kids was tied to her desire to fit in, to feel like she had to do this marker as a woman, that she had to have children in order to truly feel like an adult woman. And so it's like, does she want to give into that? Or does she want to fall into this love thing with Michaela? And also the fact that Michaela is related to John is also going to be a big thing of season 5. But ultimately, she's going to choose to be with Michaela. And I feel like they'll let the family know. But again, it's like a lot of things have changed, but it's also Regency era. I don't think that she will ever be open about her relationship with Michaela to the Ton. Like she would literally be shunned. But also she has a lot of leeway when it comes to stuff like this. Lesbians have it easier than gay people because women are allowed to be affectionate with each other. Women are allowed to, oh my god, I love you, kiss on the cheek. Women are allowed to link arms as they're walking. Women are allowed to talk about how much they love each other, are allowed to look at each other with love, because then they'll be like, oh my god, look at these great friends. And also Francesca is allowed to not get married again, because yeah, she doesn't have an heir, but it's also like she's a widow. So it's not even just like, oh, like she's a spinster. And the thing is that they'll be like, oh my god, like how are they going to live there, like blah blah blah. I don't know, I feel like maybe like John will be like in some sort of like latent will that was like just found, and that like he never got to send it off because he died so suddenly. And maybe in that will that is now found, it says that the Kilmartin estate is left to Francesca, and they'll be like, oh my god, they keep the house, and it's like, oh my god. And that was really like, so they can well and truly go off to outside society and be with each other. And the thing is that Eloise having gotten so close to Francesca, like she is privy to that knowledge, like she knows about Michaela and Francesca, that whole thing of Francesca choosing love over what society is telling her, especially what society is telling her as a woman. That really will open Eloise's eyes, but not in the way that people think. I genuinely do not believe that Eloise is lesbian. I don't believe that. One, she can't be lesbian. Season 2, Theo, hello. She was very much falling for him. Obviously, if she was lesbian, I mean, you know, I'd be a little upset because Theo, but like Eloise is my favorite character, so I would love her regardless. And this is where it's like, hear me out, because Francesca, I specifically wanted Francesca to be 5th, and for season 6, when people are like, oh, like Eloise, no. For what I want to happen in Eloise's season, she cannot be next. Season 6 will be Hyacinth. You might be like, Hyacinth? Like, and obviously Gregory is gonna be last. Gregory's a guy. The order, they don't need to go by order. Also because like the order of the kids is A, B, C, and D. And season 1, Daphne got married. So it was D. That's like, okay, D, A, B, C. Nope. In season 2, Anthony did get married. However, in season 3, it was not Benedict. Season 3 was Colin. And season 4 is going to be Benedict. So it's DACB. So the order obviously doesn't matter. DAC/FB. So it was DAC/FB. I want Hyacinth, and I specifically want Hyacinth next because if Eloise's season is before Hyacinth, it is not going to be able to go with what I want because of how earth-shattering I want her love story to be. I'd be like, Hyacinth's so young, what do you mean? Hyacinth was 12 in season 3. She was 10 in season 1, and so that would make her 11 in season 2, which means that each season is like a subsequent year, which would make her 13 in season 4 and 14 at the start of season 5. However, remember when I said that there was going to be a 5-year gap? Again, I don't know how much the gap is. It could be 5 years. It could be slightly less than 5. However, it could not be anything less than 3 because Francesca needs to heal. So it's not like, oh, it's going to be next year. There is going to be a gap. It could be 3, it could be 5, it might be 6, whatever. But let's say if it is 5, that would make Francesca 19 at the end of season 5. And the thing is, I was looking it up, and usually girls debuted sometimes. I was like, it said girls debuted sometimes in their 20s. Usually it was between like 17, 18-ish is when they did debut. Obviously, Penelope debuted in season 2. She didn't get married until season 3, but she was 19 in season 3, which means she was 18 when she debuted. And apparently, fact check me if I'm wrong, it said that Daphne was around 21 when she debuted. So, 19, but either way, 19 is old enough to debut. And so, season 6, Hyacinth debuts. She has her love story. I don't really know anything about her love story. I did not read the books. Hyacinth is kind of an inconsequential character to me because she's so young, so none of the drama involves her. Same thing with Gregory. They're kind of just like side characters right now. I definitely do feel like, especially season 5 and the later half with that time skip where Hyacinth will be like 19, Gregory will probably be like 20 some, and I guess in season 6 when she debuts, I guess Hyacinth is going to be around 19, 20. And so she's gonna have her beautiful love story, whatever. Why I want Hyacinth first before we move on to season 7 with Eloise is that Eloise does not care about her own reputation. However, she cares about the reputation of the people she loves. And she is mindful to know that her actions don't always exist in a vacuum, and that certain things she does will negatively impact her family. Like in season 2, when she ended everything with Theo because of, you know, Penelope's whistleblowing as Lady Whistledown, she said, I don't care, paraphrasing of course, she said, I don't care about my reputation, but I care too much for my actions to like ruin your life. And that's why she ended the whole thing, not because she wanted to, not because she was scared and she was like, oh my god, the heat, I can't, now everyone knows. She does not care. She's always been the black sheep. She's never been scared to, you know, rebel from the town a little bit. She's never been scared to speak her mind. But she was realizing that that publication could really negatively affect Theo, which is why she ended it. Imagine like if, God forbid, they had done more and it had come out that they had done more. That would have ruined her 2 younger sisters' prospects. Colin would have been fine. He's a man. Benedict would have been fine. He's a man. Even Gregory would have been fine because not only is he very young, so it would have been years past, but also he's a man. It doesn't matter. But Francesca and Hyacinth, as well as Eloise, but it wouldn't have mattered as much to her because in that mindset she was still very much, I don't want to get married, I don't want to have kids. So it's like, okay, no man wants to marry me, no skin off my back. But Francesca and Hyacinth, that they do want to marry, they do want to, you know, have kids at that point. And so that would be such a scandal that would really negatively impact that. And a lot of people say that Eloise is selfish. She's not selfish. She is just driven. She cares about herself and what she wants, and she wants to do that. However, she's not so selfish that she would ruin the reputation of her sisters. But now, with Hyacinth getting married in season 6, and Francesca already having been married, and now she's happily with Michaela, and Hyacinth now getting married, especially at the end of season 6 when Hyacinth, you know, has her love story, I feel like Eloise will truly realize that it's like she has nothing to fear anymore. She's seen the town and all of its discrepancies, and she realizes she doesn't want really any part of the town. She hates it, especially having been away and seeing how life could be and how free your life is when you're not within the confines of the Ton. She realized that the Ton is not for her. She was not built for the Ton, and she has no real consequences being away from the Ton, because honestly I don't think her family would cut her off. But it's like she can get away from the Ton. She has no worries. Gregory is gonna get married, whatever. He's a guy. Like, he can literally go off and find a foreign bride. Doesn't matter. And it's like, yeah, it might negatively affect, like, the Bridgerton family. But also the Bridgerton family is not, like... Yes, Anthony is a Bridgerton still. But Daphne's not with the Duke, right? Colin is a Bridgerton, but he's also a part of the Featherington family now. And because... his son is going to be Lord Featherington, so now he's like, you know, Featherington. He's a Bridgerton, but he's also like, you know, like he's off with the Featherington family. Francesca, she's off with her own nest egg. She's a Kilmartin now. Like, she's fine. Hyacinth is recently married, so she's fine. Gregory's a Bridgerton, but he'll find his love still. And so, which is why season 7 will be for Eloise. Okay. Season 7 will be for Eloise, because again, I don't want her to be last, because again, like, Gregory will literally get married, it's fine. But I feel like, honestly, season 7 could be Eloise, or season 8 could be Eloise. Doesn't really matter that much. I mean, I guess it would be more plausible if Gregory is already married. Again, I don't really care for Gregory right now. Not saying that he won't have some really great development, but he's kind of like too young to care for, because since everyone is so much older, they have so much drama going on. Hyacinth and Gregory are kind of just filler characters right now. I feel like definitely, again, with that time skip, as the seasons go on and they get older, they will really start to get more prominent, start to have more things happening. But I'm not really invested in his story right now. But Eloise, so Eloise season 7, Eloise, being away from the Ton, she's really realized what life can, and at least for her, should be like. She realizes that she is not fit to just be another mama or another lady in the Ton. Like, she can't stand it. She doesn't like it, especially after learning so many different things about how the real world works and how so many people outside of the Ton are. Going back to the Ton, she's like, this is just so snobbish. Like, I just can't. It's so restricting. Like, I don't want to be a woman in this society. Like, and that's why she's really like, ugh. That's why she was really like, ugh, motherhood, ugh, getting a husband. And I feel like a lot of people want Eloise to be lesbian. They really want her love interest to be like gender bent. They want her love interest to be a woman. However, I feel like in this specific case, her being lesbian would be kind of like reductive. Hear me out. Honestly, again, Eloise is my favorite character in the show, so if she's lesbian, I will support her and I'll be like, yeah. Either way, I will be watching Eloise's season, regardless of what happens in it. However, I feel like in this instance, it's like, Eloise, you could be like, Eloise doesn't like men, so of course she's lesbian. But the thing is, one, she literally fell for Theo, and quite quickly, so she can't be lesbian. So you can be like, oh, but she's queer. Regardless if you explore those themes, I feel like her ending up with a woman, it's like, she doesn't want to get married, not because she doesn't like men, but because she does not like the role of the wife in the Ton. She's very independent. She does not want her whole life to be surrounded on, oh, which curtains do you think will match the sofa? Which tablecloths will go well with the paint color of the room? Which jewelry do you think, oh, these dresses go to the modiste and get. She doesn't want her life to be like that. Lady Featherington didn't say this to Eloise, of course, but when Lady Featherington was like, women don't have dreams, they have husbands, Eloise is not that type of girl. She has so many dreams, she has so many aspirations, she is so ambitious, and in her mind, getting married would take away all of that. She doesn't want to just be reduced to someone's wife. She doesn't want to just be reduced to someone's mother. She doesn't want her only desires to center around her husband. She doesn't want her only desires, her hopes, her worries, her wonders to be centering around children. She wants so much more out of life, and so she's like, I can't get married. And so she started to resent those ideas. She decided to resent being married. She decided to resent being a mother. Like, for me, I don't want to be a mother. I don't want kids. At first, I was always be like, maybe if I was a man, I'd want kids, but as a woman, I don't. But even now that I'm thinking, that's not true. Because I don't want kids because I don't want to be a trad wife. We're no longer living in the 1920s. Being a trad wife isn't the only option for women. And now I'm thinking, I was like, even if I had a loving husband, even if my husband was like the perfect man, like he said, no, you work, I'll be a stay-at-home dad. Like, he was the one who was doing like 90% of the child rearing. Or if it's like, it was a truly 50-50 partnership, it's like we gave and we took, like, equal parts child rearing, equal parts doing other things. And it was really like the burden that so many mothers feel tied to motherhood was lifted off my shoulders, I still wouldn't want kids. Like, there's not, oh, now that I'm thinking about it, there's not a real reason why I don't want kids. It's nothing, it's like, I just don't want kids. It's just, having, the thought of having kids has never excited me the way that a lot of women do feel. And not even, a lot of women do want kids. A lot of women, yes, societally, but a lot of also women just like want kids because they just really love that, want to be a mother, they want to do that, even if they don't want to be a trad wife at all, even if they're not a trad wife at all, they still like, oh, want to be a mother. And it's like, I don't have that. I don't want kids because I don't want kids, and I genuinely don't see that changing. I genuinely don't believe that Eloise didn't want kids simply because, oh, she hates kids or whatever. I feel like Eloise didn't want kids because she, in her mind, having kids would sign her life away. But then, I feel like either season 7, Eloise will hopefully rekindle with Theo years later, because when she's finally like brave enough to truly defy against society, not only because one, she's like, fuck society, fuck the ton, like I don't care, I don't want to live here anymore, but also because like her 2 younger sisters had gotten married, so the 2 most at-risk people to her living and loving recklessly got married, so it's fine. And I was thinking maybe Hyacinth before Francesca, because also Francesca is also at risk, but also Hyacinth is just actually just way too young. And because like literally at the beginning of season 5, she would only be 14, so it would be way too young for her to even be plausible to get married. But by the end of season 5, it would be viable for her to get married, and it would make sense more for Hyacinth to have her season before Eloise. And I feel like Eloise, with all she's learned, maybe even about class divides and stuff like that, she's just like so much more willing to like risk it all for like a poor boy. And I feel like what better poor boy than Theo? Like, and Theo will really show her all the things in life that like she just never thought that she had. And like, and honestly, I really want it to be Theo. But even if it's not Theo, I don't want it to be Sir Philip Crane. I just feel like I don't really know much about book Eloise, but I've heard from people who've read the book and I've watched the show. Show Eloise is like so different from book Eloise. And book Eloise is that like literally like Philip just wanted a mother for his children. He didn't really want to get married because, oh, he wants another chance at love or whatever. He just wanted a mother for his children. And he treated Eloise so foul, and he kind of just treated her like a human fleshlight. He was not a good father to his kids. He was not present. Literally, her brothers literally had to like beat him up to get sense in him. Like, it was like, I was like, and yeah, apparently he came around in the end, but Eloise deserves so much more than someone who will come around the end. So Eloise, like, she does not want to get married. She does not want to be a mother because of that happening. And so for someone like Eloise to have her worst fears actualized to her, yeah, sure, he comes around in the end, but how many years, how much pain did she have to go through? Nah. Eloise is my ride or die. Eloise is my homegirl. Eloise is my down girl. I am not settling. I am not allowing. I do not want her to go through something like that. No. I would be sick to my core. I would be so sick if something like that happened to Eloise. For real. No. And so it's like, and so for Philip Crane, I feel like, and even if they like clean up his personality and stuff like that doesn't happen, I just feel like her ending up as someone in the Ton would just make all the things that people said about, oh, her little silly rebellion, her rebellious spirit, it would just kind of minimize everything that she's been working towards. It would just minimize everything that she is, because she hates the Ton. She hates how posh it is. She hates how stuffy it is. She hates how hypocritical it is. She hates how it treats women. And I doubt in the 5-6 years she was away that if so fundamentally changed. I doubt that. I really do doubt that, oh, now it's so much more accepting of what women are. No, it's still the Regency era. Like, be for real. Okay? Like, be for real. don't want it to make it seem like people can't have a second chance at love. That's not at all what I'm saying, but I feel like she deserves to be with someone that wants to marry her because they love her, because they genuinely cannot see a life without her. She does not deserve to have someone want to marry her simply because they want a mother to his children. Eloise deserves so much better than that. She's not that type of girl, and I don't see her agreeing to something like that. And I don't want her to feel like, oh, she's just like the replacement bride because Marina unalived herself, because that's kind of what she would be. Francesca is only with Michaela because John died, but I care too much about Eloise to have her be that. And I want her to be with a poor boy, or at least someone who's not in the ton, even if they're not like begging for scraps. I'm not necessarily saying someone who's homeless, but I want her to be from someone from a lower station. And honestly, I just feel like she's more likely to find someone who like truly loves her and truly cherishes her and truly just like understands her from someone who's in that lower station, because I just feel like that's so fitting. Someone who is like actually had to like work for their money, and not someone who's just like a pompous prat who's like, oh, I'm rich because my great grandpapa started this oil company, and honestly, like all I have to do is kind of just like sign a couple agreements and just kind of keep on with the same old, and I can just live comfortably and not really have to think much. Especially if it's like a second, third, fourth son, which I don't really see Eloise being like with like an Anthony. Like I don't see her being with a head of household of like the whole family. I feel like it would be like a Colin, it would be like a Benedict, it would be someone who's like, oh, like, because I'm not the first son, I have more leeway to do stuff, therefore I'm more of like, I just feel like someone from the town wouldn't be able to appreciate this Eloise, the show Eloise, the way that she deserves. Just want her to be with someone who's like a working class guy, because look at Theo. Also, he was in a more intellectual job. He wasn't just like the average day laborer. He was in a printing press, so he worked a lot with newspapers, and so he read a lot of books, and he was very intelligent, which would also be, he literally gave Eloise books. Like, please, like, if that's not understanding, I don't know what is. Truly. Even if Theo is like, oh, it was a one and done, even though they did say that Callum would come back, I feel like they said season 3, but it's like, why would he come back in season 3? This wasn't Eloise's season for romance. It was very tumultuous, and I feel like maybe they originally thought of bringing Theo back for season 3, but after they realized what kind of storyline Eloise was gonna get this character, they were like, romance and anything to do with that is just the least of what's on her mind. Eloise is just trying to find herself, and she was just trying to navigate her relationship with Penelope, and then also Cressida. I just feel like Theo, or someone like Theo, which is in a lower station, is very working class, but it's also still very much intellectual, is not only someone who will understand Eloise, but will be someone who will be able to give her that last push that she needs to truly kind of disengage from the Tom like she wants, and also just to truly realize as like, she can have love, she can have kids if she wants to, but that does not mean that she's signing her whole life away. I feel like, especially with Penelope and Colin, she's going to start to realize love isn't necessarily a bad thing, and she's going to realize that actually she doesn't want to be alone. Some people do want to be alone and they don't care, but then it's like, she realized that actually she doesn't want to be alone, and she doesn't have to be alone if she doesn't want to. She doesn't have to lower her standards just because she's afraid of being an old spinster, whatever. And so for season 8, I want it to be Gregory's story. And again, I don't really know much about Gregory. I didn't read his book. I didn't read any of the books. And I feel like it would probably just, you know, go through, I feel like Gregory's season would be the last season. I feel like I don't see this show having more than 8 seasons, one for each child, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I feel like this will really be not only his story, but again, like, really tying in a lot of loose ends for all the other characters in the story, because this is sadly the last time we'll see them. So now we'll recap. But season 4 will definitely be Benedict's story, and we'll also get to touch on Francesca's side story. Season 5 is Francesca's main story, and that's where you'll see her with Michaela. Season 6 is Hyacinth, and season 6 has to be Hyacinth because I want season 7 to be Eloise, and season 8 will be Gregory. But also season 7 and season 8 can also be switched around. Gregory is a man, so it doesn't really matter if he's before Eloise gets with her man or afterwards. Doesn't really matter. It's not as much pressure. Yeah, and honestly, I really love this series. I have honestly low-key yet to see season 3. I've only seen kind of clips of what season 3 was like. I heard there wasn't a lot of pollen, but honestly, I didn't really care for pollen, so hot take, sorry. Shonda, please hear me out. Give me one chance. Put me in the writer's room, please. I can make magic happen. I can make magic happen, please. Bye, guys.